Good morning, all. In last lecture, we discussed about the scope of managerial economics, and by that way, we have completed the first part of our first unit, that is nature and scope of managerial economics. And now we are moving towards the second part of our first unit, that is demand forecasting. The activity of estimating the quantity of a product or service that consumers will purchase. See what a demand forecasting means. Demand forecasting means to predict how many units will be demanded in future period of time. Here it is written quantity of product or service to be demanded by consumer. Forecasting simply means to predict about future. So demand forecasting will mean how many units will be demanded in a market in a future period of time. Secondly, it is written that demand forecasting involves techniques including both informal methods such as educated guesses and quantitative methods such as use of historical sales data or current data from test markets. See, here it is written that demand forecasting can be done on a two ways, informal ways and on a formal ways. You know that in India, two types of business organizations are there. One who are run on a family basis that we can term as a informal organization, and secondly who are hiring the professionals and managing their business on a formal way that we can term as a formal business organization. Both type of organization are doing demand forecasting on a different ways. First of all, take an example of informal organization. Uh, let's assume that they are having the business of gold, and you know that in India, Akshay Tritiya is a festival where the demand of gold is at peak period. So on the basis of that, if they are predicting that demand will increase on Akshay Tritiya, that definitely it is correct, but it is mere a guesswork. They cannot precisely predict how many units will be demanded, how much increase will be there in a demand. That cannot be predicted on a informal guesswork. And on the other hand, what a formal guesswork, what a formal demand forecasting they are doing on the basis of quantitative methods. Take the example that in March the demand is 10,000 units and in April demand is 11,000 units. So there is a sharp increase of 1,000. It means there is a sharp increase of 10%. So for June, manager may predict that there will be increase of around 10% only. So that is what a manager has done. He has taken a decision on the basis of historical data and a present data, and on that basis he has taken a decision for future demand. The next line is written that demand forecasting may be used in making pricing decisions, in assessing future capacity requirement, or in making decision on whether to enter a new market or not. So firstly it is written that it is used in making pricing decision. How demand forecasting is helpful in pricing decision? See, if demand will increase in our future, then you can increase your price because you know that demand will increase. And if you increase the price, then also you will be able to sell sufficient units in a market. So this is a comfortable situation for an organization to charge high price. When any organization demand is increasing, if their product is very well established in a market, and when consumer prefer their product over rivals product, in that situation they are in a comfort zone. In any situation their product will be sellable, so they can easily increase their price. Now take the reverse situation. If demand forecasting says that your demand will reduce in a market, then you know that law of demand, price reduces, demand increases. So just to influence a demand, a firm may take a decision to reduce price. So this is how demand forecasting is helpful in taking price decision. Secondly, in assessing future capacity requirement. See, demand forecasting will say how many units will be demanded on the future in a future, and on that basis a manager will decide whether an organization is able to cope up with the future demand or not. If not, then he need to make certain arrangement, financial arrangement, and human resource arrangement is there, material arrangement is also there, and if yes, then there is no need of arrangement. But that is what a demand forecasting is helpful in making future capacity requirement decision. Then thirdly it is written that in making decision on whether to enter a new market or not. So for example, if your product is continuously having increased demand in a particular region, then you may assume that your product will also be accepted also be welcome in another region as well. So on that basis, a firm will decide whether to enter in a new market or not. Now let us see some definitions. The first definition is given by Evan J. Douglas. Demand forecasting may be defined as the process of finding values for demand in future time period. The very simplest definition of demand forecasting, that how many units will be demanded in a future, that is known as demand forecasting. The second definition given by Cundiff and Still, demand forecasting is an estimate of demand during a specified period. In later period, we will see that there are three levels of demand forecasting: short term, middle term, and long term. And for each level, the time period will be different. So demand forecasting for a specific period of time, which estimate is tied to a proposed marketing plan and which assumes a particular set of uncontrollable and competitive forces. When you do a demand forecasting, simultaneously you will take a decision that which marketing plan you should apply to increase the demand. Take an example that your demand forecasting says here that your demand will be 12,000, but you are not happy with the 12,000. You want increased demand more than 12,000. Then you may take a decision to give excessive advertisement. You may take a decision to hire brand ambassador. You may take a decision to use different sales promotional tools to influence your demand in a market. So what here happened that your demand forecasting is connected with a proposed marketing plan, and then it is written that which assumes a particular set of uncontrollable and competitive forces. See, whatever the result of demand forecasting is there, you cannot say that it is 100% correct. There will be always a room for change because you are predicting for the future period of time, and future is always uncertain. Take an example that for the future, in the future, if your competitor strategy is changing, then definitely it will affect your demand, and the result of your demand forecasting will totally incorrect in that situation. So to be 100% dependent on the result of demand forecasting will not be a wise decision. Now let us see the objective of demand forecasting. The objectives are classified into two categories: short term and long term. Short term we can consider as a time period where it is less than 1 year, and long term is a time period we can consider more than 5 years, and the objectives for both term are different. Let us see the objectives of short term demand forecasting. Firstly, it is written that to formulate appropriate production policy so as to avoid overproduction and underproduction. Secondly, to reduce cost of raw material and control inventories. Third, to determine appropriate price policy and fix sales target. And next, to arrange for short-term financial requirement. We will see all this objective in detail, but you just make a list of this objective or take a screenshot of this. Then long-term demand forecasting. Objectives are to plan for new unit or expansion of existing unit. Secondly, to plan for product diversification. Then to arrange for long-term financial requirement and to plan for manpower requirement. Now let us see in detail. Short-term demand forecasting first objective is to formulate appropriate production policy. What appropriate production policy? Appropriate simply means whatever demand is there, exactly producing that much will be termed as appropriate production policy. Let's take an example. Actual demand is 10,000, and suppose without demand forecasting, on a mere guesswork, if you are taking decision to produce 80,000 units, means you are lacking 2,000 units. There is a less production of 2,000 unit. What will happen with this 2,000 unit? It is not like that your customer will not purchase product. They will definitely purchase, but from your rival. So to that extent, your rival's business will increase. That is what written here. Your competitor's business will increase, and what happened to you is a loss of customer. You are losing your customer by 2,000 unit. Whatever the situation is, if you are losing your customer, if your competitor's business is increasing, but what happened to you is your profit will reduce. Now let us reverse the situation. Suppose actual demand is 10,000 and you are producing 12,000. It means you are producing excess 2,000 unit. What will happen with this 2,000 unit? this 2000 unit will not be sellable in a market because demand is only 10,000. So this 2000 unit you need to store in your warehouse. If your product is durable in nature, then you can very well store it in a warehouse, but then also your storage cost will increase, and secondly your inventory will remain idle till the time it will be sold out in a market. So till the time your capital will be blocked in the inventory, so your capital cost will also increase. So here two type of cost is increasing. One is a storage cost and second is a capital cost. Cost increases, so profit reduces. And if your product is perishable in nature, then there will be a total wastage of inventory. There you cannot store your inventory, rather the total value of inventory you need to note as a loss or wastage of inventory. In that situation also your profit is reducing. So whatever the situation is, whether you are producing more or you are producing less, the result will be less profit. See, if you are producing 8,000, means there is a less of 2,000 unit, it will be termed as underproduction. And if you are producing 12,000, it means you are producing 2,000 unit more, it will be termed as overproduction. So what a demand forecasting is doing? Demand forecasting is helpful in making appropriate production policy, means to produce 10,000 units so that there will not be overproduction and there will not be underproduction, which is having a result of less profit. Then second objective is to reduce cost of raw material and control inventories. See what kind of costs are associated with the raw material. Basically two types of cost are there. One is ordering cost and second is carrying cost. What do you mean by ordering cost? Ordering cost is that cost which an organization is incurring at the time of placing order. You may have a question in your mind that what kind of cost will be there when we are placing an order. See, in many big companies, they are having separate purchase department. So you can consider the salary of purchase manager as ordering cost, because the task of purchase manager is to find out supplier and placing an order. Then you need to make phone calls to your supplier, so your telephone bill will be considered as your ordering cost. Then purchase department will access internet for finding out suppliers, so internet cost will be considered as ordering cost. And some purchase are done on a contract basis, where contract is done on a stamp paper, so you can consider stamp charge as your ordering cost. So these are the few examples of ordering cost I have given. Now let us see the carrying cost. What a carrying cost means? Carrying cost simply means any cost that organization is incurring for carrying the inventory. For taking inventory together, organization, whatever the cost an organization is creating, that is known as carrying cost. Take an example. After placing an order, when supplier dispatch your order, truck is ready at your factory gate, then you need labor to unload the truck. Then that labor charge will be considered as your carrying cost. You need to keep your inventory in your warehouse, so your storage cost will increase. Your storage cost will increase. So storage cost will be considered as carrying cost. Then there will be a warehouse manager who will take care of this inventory, so salary of that person will be considered as carrying cost. So these are the few example of carrying cost. The relation between ordering cost and carrying cost is inverse. See, if your ordering cost is increasing, then your carrying cost will decrease. How it is possible? See, if you are placing so many orders, then you are not carrying the inventory for a longer period of time, so your carrying cost will be less, but your ordering cost will be more. Say for example, the need of any organization for 1 year is 1 lakh unit for raw material, and if they are placing order 50,000 two times, then there will be only two orders. And suppose per order cost is 5,000, then total ordering cost will be 10,000 units. And if storage cost, suppose assume that you are having a warehouse on a rent and your per month rent is 3,000 rupees, then you need to store your inventory 6 months, because you are placing an order of 50,000 units. So 6 months 3,000, your carrying cost will be 80,000 and your ordering cost is 10,000. Now reverse the situation. Suppose organization is placing an order of 10,000, which they are consuming in 1 month, then their ordering cost will increase. If you are placing an order of 10,000, total 10 orders you are placing, and your ordering cost will amount to 50,000 rupees, correct? And if your carrying cost, you need not to handle your inventory for more than 1 month, so it will be always 3,000 only. So ordering cost is increasing and carrying cost is reducing. What a manager need to do, manager should decide that point of time, that level of inventory where their ordering cost and carrying cost, total of this cost should be minimum. Secondly, it is written that control inventories. See, if you know in advance that how many units will be demanded, then on that basis you will pre-plan your production schedule. On that basis you will take decision how many raw material is required for the production. So you can place order in advance. You are having sufficient time to bargain with the supplier, and you will purchase in a minimum possible price. Secondly, you know in advance how many units will be demanded, so there will not be over inventory and there will not be under inventory. So this is how demand forecasting is helpful in reducing total cost of production. The next one is to determine appropriate price policy and fix sales target. That we have also discussed in the introduction part, that how demand forecasting is helpful in making appropriate price policy. Let us take an example. Say if your present demand is 10,000 unit and in your future demand is 12,000 unit, your demand forecasting says that your future demand is 12,000 unit, means your demand is increasing I said by 2,000 unit. When demand of any organization will increase? When the product of that organization is preferred by consumer over other company's product. When the product of that particular organization is very well established in a market and it is considered as a superior product, it means organization is in a comfort zone. Their product will be definitely demanded in a market, so they are in a situation, they are in a very well situation to increase our price. Now let us reverse the situation. Your present demand is 10,000 and demand forecasting says that your future demand is 8,000. It means your demand is reducing exactly by 2,000. You know, law of demand, if you reduce a price, then your demand will increase. So any manager want to increase a demand, and if they are not able to increase a demand, at least they want to maintain a demand. But here demand is reducing, so he will strive hard to increase the demand. And how demand can be increased? By reducing a price. So this is how a demand forecasting is helpful in making future decision for price, whether a firm should increase price or a firm should reduce price. And secondly, it is written to fix sales target. See, if your demand forecasting says that in future the units demanded are 12,000, and you assume that 12,000 units are not sufficient to earn profit that you are planned. You need to sell 13,000 unit for a planned profit, for earning planned profit. So what an organization will do, he will make a marketing plan that how they can influence a demand in a market. So by that way, demand forecasting will be helpful in fixing the sales target. The next is to arrange for short-term financial requirement. To maintain liquidity of the firm, demand forecasting is helpful. What liquidity means? Liquidity simply means cash on hand should be available whenever required. If cash will not be available, then credit worthiness will be adversely hit in a market. What will happen? Say for example, an supplier is demanding payment from you and you don't have money on your hand, then your credit worthiness will be adversely hit. You need to make an order for the raw material, but you don't have money. Can you place an order? No, it will not be. So on that basis, your production will not run. So liquidity should be there in any organization for smooth running of the operation and for maintaining credit worthiness in a market. And how any firm can maintain the liquidity? By tapping the short-term sources of finance. Here the list is given. What sources are there? Bank overdraft is there, trade creditors are there, commercial papers are there. If firm needs money, they can overdraft from the bank, they can withdraw more, whatever they have deposited in the bank account, or they can demand from their supplier to give them credit period for allowing them credit period. And thirdly, commercial paper is an instrument by which an organization can raise fund for 3 months. This is an instrument that you are going to learn in your financial management, but up to now you just remember that these are the different sources by which a firm can make a financial arrangement for a short term period of time. And how demand forecasting is helpful: on the basis of demand forecasting, a firm will decide how many units are demanded, how much bill will be there with the supplier, so how much fund is required to have a sufficient production schedule, to run our production schedule on a smooth way. So this is we have discussed the short term objective of demand forecasting. Now let us move towards the long term objective of demand forecasting. This diagram includes all four objectives of long term demand forecasting. See, let us assume that your present demand is 10,000 unit and your future demand is 50,000 unit. The same type of example we have taken in a short run, but the figures were quite different. You just focus over 50,000. There is a huge difference between 10,000 and 50,000. There is a sharp increase of 40,000 units. Definitely, if demand is increasing to this great extent, firm is definitely not able to produce with the same facility of that plant. They need to make another arrangement. They need to purchase more machinery, or they need to establish another branch at all for coping up with the future demand. If this is the situation, your demand is increased by this many units, then you need to do an expansion. When you are establishing another plant, means you are increasing your level of production capacity. So what you are doing? You are doing an expansion. Now let us reverse the situation. Your present demand is 10,000 and your future demand is 2,000. There is a huge decrease in your demand. If this is the situation, it is not a wise decision to continue with the same product and continue with a same market. You can take example of TVs here, LCD and LED. Earlier it was a time where it was in a great demand, but now LCD and LED is considered as an outdated product in the era of smart TV. So what a firm should do? Firm should change the market. Still they are having underdeveloped countries where the demand of LCD and LED can be there. So a firm should change the country, change the market. So what a firm is doing? Firm is doing diversification by market. The another option available with the firm is they can change their product, they can launch altogether new product, or they can change their business altogether different one. They can go in another business or in another industry. So what a firm is doing? Firm is doing diversification by product. But whatever the situation is there, whether your demand is increasing or it is decreasing, whether you are going for expansion or you are going for diversification, the need in this situation is of long-term finance and human resource. See, if you want to do expansion, you are purchasing new machineries, and the price of machinery will be definitely running into lakhs and crores of rupees. So you need to make arrangement for long-term finance. How any manager can arrange long-term finance? By tapping long-term sources of finance. What are the long-term sources of finance? Equity shares are there, preference shares are there, debentures are there, bonds are there, bank loans are there. So these are the different sources of finance. A manager should decide on the basis of their cost of capital, means which source is from which source capital is available in a least possible cost. Then if you are going for expansion, definitely your production will increase. You are in need of more labors, so you need to hire more employees. And if you are going for diversification, then also your present employee may not having the skill and knowledge for your another business. In that situation also, you need to hire other employees. And if you are not hiring, you are continuing with your present employees, then you need to give them training for newer business, and you need to conduct a developmental program for your employees. And for that also you are in need of finance. So this is how a demand forecasting is helpful in making decision about whether a firm should go for expansion or a firm should go for diversification. And on that basis, It helps firm in taking decision from where a firm should collect capital and how many employees and laborers are needed in the organization. So this is how we have seen the objectives of short term and long term. Let's keep up to it. Now in next lecture we will see the factors affecting demand forecasting.